Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Ben, this is Books with Benghis Kahn, and welcome to the first annual Benghis Kahn Awards. So it's coming to you a little late into 2024 already, but I wasn't really planning to do these until I saw a few other award shows, and I thought I would have some fun with it myself to wrap up my 2023 reading year. So here we go, starting off with some more of the supporting categories, just like the Oscars does. I'll save the best book and author categories for last, but starting off with the best series add-on. So a shorter work or collection that's just a supporting kind of role to a larger series. So here are the nominees. The Willful Princess and the Piebald Prince by Robin Hobb. The Sins of Our Fathers, an Expanse novella by James S.A. Corey. Sharp's Christmas, 2 short stories by Bernard Cornwell. Jade Shards, that's 4 Greenbone Saga stories by Fonda Lee. And The Great Change and Other Lies by Joe Abercrombie, it's 4 companion short stories to the Age of Madness trilogy. And the Benghis goes to The Willful Princess and the Piebald Prince by Robin Hobb. This is just a staggeringly tragic little work by Robin Hobb that had me so involved from the very beginning to the end. Just a really, really good companion to the Tawny Man trilogy, and I read it right after I finished with those. Hits hard. So what a great little addition to the realm of the Elderlings. Next, we're moving to a sound category. So I love audiobooks. They are just a huge part of my reading experiences these days. And so I wanted to give an award for my favorite new-to-me narrator that I heard for the first time this year. So the nominees are Chiwetel Ejiofor in Piranesi, William Demerit in The Sunlit Man, Jeff Hayes in Dungeon Crawler Carl, and Nathan Osgood in Dogs of War voicing Rex. And the Benghis goes to Jeff Hayes in Dungeon Crawler Carl. So this is really for the entire 6-book series that I just have been listening to at the end of December into January. And Hayes is so lively. His voices are just so distinctive. They add in some extra sound effects that are very suitable for the kind of video game nature of this plot and setting. And the audiobooks are just so immersive, so much fun. Man, Jeff Hayes, just a favorite new narrator for sure. Alright, now into a category that's kind of like the equivalent of a set design and costumes and makeup. So we have the coolest and best executed world building idea. So these are just some fabulously creative ideas that added a lot to my reads this past year. The nominees are The Live Ships of Robin Hobb in The Live Ship Traders, The Spore Oceans in Tress of the Emerald Sea by Brandon Sanderson, The Enhanced Evolution in Children of Time by Adrian Tchaikovsky, The House in Piranesi by Susanna Clarke, and Bioenergetic Jade in the Greenbone Saga by Fonda Lee. And the Benghis goes to Enhanced Evolution in Children of Time. Adrian Tchaikovsky just continually blew me away with this idea as I was reading, and just where he took things with it. I don't even want to give it away with kind of what Earth species he was doing this with. You will find out basically in the first chapter, or chapter 2, really what's going on. But seeing this kind of civilization, this non-human civilization develop from its kind of animal-like state to a much more advanced place was just mind-blowing and so engaging. And he did something kind of similar in the next book, Children of Ruin 2. I just love this kind of world-building idea of this virus that provides for enhanced evolution, where later generations have these really clear memories of the previous generation's lives and memories. Man, it just provides such an engaging reading experience over time as you see it develop over generations and generations. With me reading so much epic fantasy and sci-fi and historical fiction, I read a lot of battles, and there are a lot of great ones, so I wanted to give an award for my favorite battle scene or sequence. And the nominees are the climactic battle and victory of Eagles by Naomi Novik, the battle between druids in Becoming a Druid by Mike Mullman, Battle of the Blackwater in Clash of Kings by George R. R. Martin, the naval battle in Red Seas Under Red Skies by Scott Lynch, or the Battle of Waterloo in Sharpe's Waterloo by Bernard Cornwell. And the Benghis goes to the Battle of Waterloo. This was just thrilling to read about, and the fact that it actually took place in reality is just hard for me to fathom, because the drama of what takes place over the course of this long day in Belgium, man, from basically the sunrise to the sunset, we are just in the middle of this immense drama, this standoff between two of the age's greatest generals and strategic minds. So, just was wonderful. And if you don't want to wait to get there towards the end of the Sharpe series, Bernard Cornwell actually wrote a whole nonfiction book based on his research about the battle that just takes you through a kind of his nonfiction narrative of the battle with a lot of quotes from different people's memoirs and soldiers that were there. And it's one of the most readable, interesting, engaging nonfiction history books I've ever read. So you could just check out that if you didn't want to have to kind of wait for later on in the Sharpe series. In more of the supporting actor role, we have the award for my favorite side character. So the nominees are Paragon from the live ship Traders, Princess Donut from Dungeon Crawler Carl, The Fool from the Tawny Man trilogy, or Maester Aemon from A Song of Ice and Fire. And the Benghis goes to The Fool from the Tawny Man trilogy. So this is a really interesting one because the entire trilogy is told from just Fitz's first-person POV, and I feel like me as the reader, I understand the Fool much better than Fitz does. Somehow there's some intensely genius way that Hobb has written this, where we seem to get to know the Fool better from just the way that Fitz puts down his memories than Fitz does himself. And what an interesting and complicated kind of enigma of a character that we come to know so much more deeply in this trilogy than from the Farseer trilogy. Someone who is so sensitive, feels so deeply, and has such a good heart, but has to play all these different roles and put on airs and act certain ways for different people and situations. And just a really, really deep and meaningful character that we are following, who wants to do so much, but who doesn't always know kind of the way that it has to get done, and is just trying to stumble along and do the best that they can. So yeah, I am so attached to this character. And now moving into more of the lead actor roles. So we are going to be giving an award for my favorite cheeky protagonist. So one who can provide a little bit of sarcasm or humor and not be so serious all the time. So the nominees are Mickey 7 from Antimatter Blues by Edward Ashton, Grommy from Becoming a Druid by Mike Mullman, Tyrion Lannister from A Song of Ice and Fire by George R. R. Martin, Richard Sharpe from Every Sharpe Book by Bernard Cornwell, and Locke and Jean as kind of a twofer from Red Seas Under Red Skies by Scott Lynch. And the Benghis goes to Richard Sharpe, the protagonist of the 23-book historical fiction series by Bernard Cornwell. Sharpe is just your everyman coming from the London gutter, going into the British infantry, and really just trying to survive and climb his way up the ranks bit by bit, and gain the respect of the British officers who are mostly from wealthy, noble backgrounds, and who often just scoff at the lower ranks of men. And Sharpe is this kind of rogue, but also a lovable rogue with a heart of gold. He has an honor code. He is able to inspire the men around him and inspire loyalty and have really deep friendships, but also draw the ire of more of the corrupt officers or the ones who are incompetent, because Sharpe is a deadly fighter and extremely clever and kind of gives as good as he gets and puts a lot of these really incompetent, corrupt people in their place, and can really just kick back and have some fun between all the tense battles, and just have a good time with his friends as well. And so the books aren't always just so serious and kind of depressing, but kind of switch back and forth and have a little lightness as well. So something that really breaks up that really heaviness of war. But many protagonists don't have that kind of sarcastic side to lighten the mood. Some are just deadly serious. So here's the award for my favorite, deadly serious protagonist. Those drama queens out there. So the nominees are Rex in Dogs of War by Adrian Tchaikovsky, Lawrence in the Temeraire series by Naomi Novik, Hadrian Marlowe in Ashes of Man by Christopher Rocchio, and Fitz in the Tawny Man trilogy by Robin Hobb. And the Benghis goes to Hadrian Marlowe from Ashes of Man. That's the only one I read this past year, but it's really for his presence throughout the whole Sun Eater series, since my attachment to this character really grew over the many books, and then is just continuing to be so strong in the newest installment. And we will be getting new ones soon too. But man, Hadrian is so dramatic and serious and reflecting on all these really deep philosophical aspects of life and existence and his place in it all. And I really am connected to his journey and the way he views things, and I feel very close to Hadrian, and that Rocchio is really helping me be a more thoughtful, wise person as I hear Hadrian's story told by him. But also there's so many complexities, and he's not a perfect person. He has faults, and a lot of dramatic things have been happening to him. He's processing that in Ashes of Man as he's continuing to go through some more intense events, and is just a protagonist that I feel like I can almost fully empathize with and live in his shoes. Before we get to the book awards, to close this out, I want to get to the Comeback of the Year award. So this is a very personal one about the starkest 180-degree turnaround that I experienced, either with a character or a series or narrator even. And so a very personal award, but this is the Benghis Awards, so that's what you're going to get. So the nominees for the Comeback of the Year award are Enjoying the Gentleman Bastards in Red Seas Under Red Skies, since did not really love Lies of Locke Lamora. Understanding Captain Kennett in The Live Ship Traders, enjoying Andrew Kishina's narration in the Green Bun Saga, since at first it really wasn't clicking, but then started to really click in books 2 and 3. And finally, liking Malta Vestrit in The Live Ship Traders. And the Benghis goes to liking Malta Vestrit. So I never thought in a million gajillion years in Ship of Magic that Malta would grow into a character that I would root for and end up becoming really attached to and love and respect. Just, I can't believe the arc that Hobb took me on with Malta. It is definitely the one where I went from just despising and hating a character to really loving them, and easily the best example of this in my entire reading history. And this is just mad genius work by Hobb with this character. Alright, since I've already done my Book of the Year kind of list, I didn't just want to do a favorite kind of fantasy book or sci-fi book. You could look at my top list and figure that out. So I wanted to give you some different categories for books, and we will start with the Most Cozy Goodness Award. So a book that provided me with a lot of that cozy vibe, and I could just relax into it for a while at least. And the nominees for Most Cozy Goodness are Fool's Errand by Robin Hobb, Bookshops and Bone Dust by Travis Baldree, Tress of the Emerald Sea by Brandon Sanderson, or Piranesi by Susanna Clark. And the Benghis goes to Fool's Errand by Robin Hobb. The first, what feels like 300 to 400 pages of this book are just chilling in a kind of farm cottage, going about the daily tasks at the cottage, having people visit, having tea, discussing life, past things, catching up with people. It is just such a nice, cozy start to a series. And you could only really pull it off and be that impactful if it was a kind of sequel series. So Hob kind of had an advantage that this wasn't just a standalone, but that we already kind of have a lot of context for these characters and the events that they're reflecting on. So, but coming in, it's been a few years since I'd read Farseer Trilogy, and this was such an amazing new start to a new point in Fitz's life. The next book award is for the most delicious slow burn of a novel. So I do tend to really love fast-paced books, but ones that do a really slow burn, kind of just simmering that stew on low heat for hours and hours, build up that flavor. Man, sometimes those can be the best, most fulfilling meals. You just got to be a little patient. And so these books might have taken their sweet time in setting things up and developing characters and plot arcs, but they were fantastic journeys. So the nominees for Most Delicious Slow Burn are Golden Fool by Robin Hobb, A Feast for Crows by George R. R. Martin, Red Seas Under Red Skies by Scott Lynch, and Ship of Magic by Robin Hobb. And the Benghis goes to A Feast for Crows by George R. R. Martin. So this book followed the many climaxes of Storm of Swords and just did something so different, and is a very different style of Song of Ice and Fire book, and that really worked amazingly for me as we focus on a few new POVs and really just the focus on some really kind of side characters before becoming kind of main characters through their POVs in this one, as we rotate through, especially Brienne, Jaime, Cersei, just a lot of thematic resonance around these characters and where they're at in their lives and trying to figure things out. And it was just very emotionally impactful, and some scenes as Brienne is journeying through the land, that, you know, in a faster paced novel people would have left out, but here I think really deepened everything for me. But I do love my thrill rides too, so this next award is for the most thrilling non-stop roller coaster ride of a novel. So some books just take you on that wild ride and don't let up, and that could be amazing too. And so the nominees are Children of Time by Adrian Tchaikovsky, The Severing Sun by Von Roycroft, Tiamat's Wrath by James S. A. Corey, The Sunlit Man by Brandon Sanderson, and Dungeon Crawler Carl by Matt Dinneman. And the Benghis goes to Tiamat's Wrath by James S. A. Corey. Most people expect the fastest paced kind of climactic book to be at the end of the series, but this one is the second to last book in The Expanse, and it was so suspenseful, so tense throughout. This is one of the most gripping reading experiences of my life, and set up a quieter, slower paced finale that was really awesome too. So just an amazing late series book. So in 2023, I read a whole lot of authors that were already familiar to me from previous books or starting their series before 2023, but I did get a chance to read a bunch of new authors, and so this award is for my favorite new to me author for this past year. And so the nominees are Von Roycroft for the Sundered Nation books, Fonda Lee for the Greenbone Saga, Mike Mullman for the Protectors of Prytani series, Susanna Clarke for Piranesi, and Matt Dinneman for the Dungeon Crawler Carl series. And the Benghis goes to Fonda Lee for the Greenbone Saga. This was just a uniformly strong series for me, with all the books, start to finish, the novellas, short stories. It captivated me in terms of the plotting, world building, and characters. So it was just firing on all cylinders and really emotionally impacted me throughout and had me just engaged on the edge of my seat with what was going to happen. I couldn't stop reading. I just binged the whole thing really fast, and I can't wait to see what Fonda Lee is going to do next. And I finished up a lot of series or sub-series in the past year, and I am a sucker for a good ending. I love closure and cathartic climactic sequences and falling action sequences, and I read so many amazing finales. And so here's my award for the most impactful series ender. The nominees are Leviathan Falls by James S. A. Corey, Jade Legacy by Fonda Lee, Waybound by Will White, Fool's Fate by Robin Hobb, and Ship of Destiny by Robin Hobb. And the Benghis goes to Ship of Destiny by Robin Hobb. This trilogy finale just wrapped up so many things. The series-long plot arcs, the series-long character arcs, all coming to fruition and interlocking and converging in such an amazingly satisfying and tragic and thrilling way, and just setting up even more important things for the world. But really, this was a suitable and satisfying finale, really, for these characters and this arc. And if I had no more sequels, it would have been a completely fine place for me to end. Just stunning in how everything came together and recontextualized the books before. I can't wait to do a reread, and I think it'll hit so much differently once all of the reveals that happened in Ship of Destiny are now known to me at the start of the series. So just doing so much, really, to wrap up this beautiful tale. So that wraps up the first annual Benghis Kahn Awards. Hope you had a good time. Let me know any of these awards that you were really happy with their outcome or would have given to someone else that you saw in the nominees. Love to hear what you would have said for any of these categories as well, and I'll catch you later.